Hello and welcome back to my craft room. If you're a regular viewer, you'll know that I started doing a little mini collaboration with my friend Johnny, just Johnny Creations here on YouTube and Instagram, and it's called Ooh What's in the Box, where every couple of months we're going to send each other a little box full of crafty goodies. We're not supposed to spend more than £10. We can throw in a few bits from our stash within reason. Johnny confessed that he went £2.30 over last time, but he's going to rein it in next time, so just saying. Anyway, so I have already made a little video unboxing the Ooh box that Johnny sent for me. It was all about making your own watercolour paints, and then I did another one with my first go at mixing the paints. I made a couple of boo-boos there. I'm still waiting for them to dry, and I've had a bit of advice from Dawn, who's used to making paints. Thank you, Dawn. So I will be back in a couple of days to have my second bash at that. Meanwhile, Johnny has also done his unboxing of the kit that I sent for him, which was all about weaving. It was hilarious unboxing because the challenge I set him was to make an irresistible cat toy, and I put in a little bill and a pack of catnip, and Ziggy got wind of the catnip before Johnny opened the box. It was hilarious. I'll leave a link to Johnny's channel so you can find that. And he's done another video with his first go at the weaving. Now I have got a big tabletop, well not big, it's a tabletop loom, which I got for my last birthday and haven't used yet, shamefully. But I couldn't resist getting myself the same little kit that I sent to Johnny to see what I could do with it, because I just think it's brilliant that this little mini loom designed for kids, quite reasonably priced, but you can still make something quite nice with it, I think, which, you know, we should be able to. Johnny and I both do a lot of different things, like with art dolls and things like that, and I do a lot of slow stitching projects, so I'm hoping that the pieces I make on here can be worked into those kind of projects. So let me show you, because I've got almost the same kit that I sent to Johnny minus a few things. So obviously I haven't I haven't got the catnip because I haven't got a cat, and I put a couple of other little gifty things in for him, but other than that, this is what I sent him in his box. So this is the little loom. It's designed for beginners or children, as they put it. I'm going to quickly show you online a similar thing on Facebook. Hang on. This is the kind. Now beware though, this one's £14.99. I didn't pay anything like that for it. I think I spent £6 or £7 on it. It looks like they're charging an awful lot more for a little bit of wool to go with it, which most of us have got scraps of wool and stuff anyway, so yeah, be really careful. I'll try and find the one that I got and leave a link to it in the description box, because it was a lot less than this. It was like half the price, and to be honest, if you wanted the wool, you'd be better off to buy this loom separately and then go and buy a couple of balls of wool in a charity shop or something, you know. I think that's a bit of a rip off, that. Anyway, yeah, so it's other than that, it's exactly the same thing. You can see there I put together some small balls of wool. I know Johnny loves green, so I put a lot of grass. Started off with green, and then I pulled in a few other colours I thought would look really nice with the green, and then I tried to find different textures and things as well, so, and some neutrals, so we got a bit of grey there and the white. So yeah, different textures, everything from this kind of quite coarse twine to embroidery silks. This was hand dyed fibre. I'm trying to think which fibre it was now. It was one of those hand dyed fibres that I got from Steph Francis. More embroidery floss. This is a Steph Francis one. I love the colours in that. Yeah, it's another Steph Francis. This is some wool, and then again this is a silk Steph Francis one. So there's a lot of different textures and things. I thought that'd be interesting. Got a fluffy one here and a bubbly one there. A couple of ordinary ones. This is that t-shirt yarn, which you can get. I think I had this for doing macrame with or something. And then it's all these sari silk ribbons, and a couple of like big fat cords. You could take them apart, unravel them and use them, because I wanted to get lots of different texture to make the pieces more interesting. The emery board I'll explain in a second, and then you need this warp thread, which just needs to be, I mean, I bought this specially, and I wound a whole lot of it onto one of these sheep things for Johnny to use. But it just needs to be something, obviously it needs to be fine enough to go in the little slots, and it needs to have no stretch in it. So this is a cotton one, and if you pull it, there's just no stretch in it at all. It's nice and smooth, and it's not going to kind of stretch as you're working and make it all go pear-shaped. Here's the actual loom. Let's push all that to one side for a minute. So that's the kind of the frame part of the loom. This is called a heddle. I'll show you what that's for in a minute. This is the shuttle that's used to take the thread you're working with back and forth. And then this is a comb for neatening up your weaving as you're working on it. The thread that goes on here that you use this for, that goes up and down, is called warp thread, and I remember that by thinking of Star Trek, when they're going ahead, when they're going forward, warp speed, going forward. That's how I remember it. And then the threads that go in and out, the fibres that go in and out, where I'll be using all these, is called the weft thread, and I think that's probably from the word woven, weave, weft, so it's what weaves it in and out. Now I also sent Johnny a link to a particular video on Sally Pointer's channel. I'll show you that as well. So here we go. And so Sally Pointer, she's brilliant, well worth checking out her channel. I'll definitely link her below. She does all kinds of really interesting tutorials and things, and it's very inspiring. But here she actually was using this very same loom. She was putting it together ready to send to her little niece, and she just did a few little things to improve it, just to make it feel nicer to work with. So I said to Johnny, watch this video first, and she shows you how to use it, and she shows you what you need to do to it, just to make it a bit more user friendly, and won't take long, but well worth doing. So and I think he did do that, although I didn't see him using the emery board, so I'm not sure, maybe he didn't. I don't know. Anyway, so the emery board, she suggested just getting a bit of sandpaper, and where you can see, although this, I know Johnny didn't like it because it's unfinished wood. Oh, I need to go back to my camera now, hang on. I know Johnny wasn't keen because it's unfinished wood, so I think he varnished it or something, but actually it's quite smooth, there's no splinters or anything like that, you know. It feels absolutely fine to me, so, you know, don't worry that you're going to get, you know, splinters or anything from it. The only thing about it is, and if you look closely you can see, get it to focus, you see those little bits there, wherever there's the little slots, so it's the same here on the comb thing, they're not that smoothed off, that one particularly, and you really need this to be nice and smooth. You don't want those little bits there, because that's just going to keep catching the fibres as you try to go through. So it's well worth taking the time to just use this little emery board. I'm not sure Johnny even noticed it, because I could see it stuck in the bottom of the box, and he didn't comment on it, so he probably thought, what on earth, he probably found it later and thought, what on earth has she sent me a nail file for? But anyway, that's what it's for. So you can just go into all these little cracks and just smooth it away, so that those little raggedy bits aren't going to keep catching on the fabric and annoying you, because that would really drive me nuts. And okay, so it's going to take me a few minutes to do this, but I think it would be time well spent, and I definitely trust Sally Pointer's expertise. Okay, so yeah, I'm quite excited to see what I can make with this. I thought Johnny's first piece looked really nice. He used lots of different textures there. Next time he's going to come on and make the cat toy that I challenged him to make. Apparently there is about half the bag of catnip still left, so it'll probably be a bit heartbreaking to watch the cat play with his precious weaving, but it's only the first piece though. I'm quite hoping, although it's a small one and I have got the tabletop one as well, I'm hoping that this might still be useful just to make little small pieces that, as I say, I can incorporate into my slow stitching. And you can use all kinds of things. You could use felting wool if you happen to have some to use up. You could use these kind of, even if you've got odds and ends of twine like that, you know, obviously isn't an odds and ends, but I tend to, you know, if I get something tied up with this, I can't throw it away, I've just got that little bit. Well, that could be incorporated too, couldn't it? So the other thing that Sally said was that this, which is the shuttle, when it went in and out of the warp threads, it just kept catching, and you know, it doesn't look like it's going to catch too much, but I'll take her word for it. You see where here that's quite straight, it's quite angled there. What she did was just file it to just round that off a little bit, and here as well. I might find that the emery board isn't enough and I need to get a bit of actual sandpaper on it. I don't think it's going to take too long. You can see already, just in the time I've been talking, I've rounded that off quite a bit. And I just think that's just going to be time well spent. It'll make it much more of a pleasure to use. So I'm going to stop filming now, sand all these bits and pieces, and then come back when I'm ready to thread up my loom. Hopefully doing this small one first will break me in, and then I'll feel much braver about tackling the big size loom. Oh yeah, and I put this here to remind me to show you, when I come to using the big size loom, I've been hoarding this. I got this sent in a parcel from Jackie Parry. Thank you, Jackie. Look at these gorgeous, I think it was called berries. Was it called berries? Shetland yarn berries, yeah, from 21st Century Yarns. Look at these gorgeous colours. So when I come to using my big tabletop loom, I'm going to use these. I just think those look fabulous. Yeah, so yeah, I just thought I'd show you them. So I've spent a few minutes just smoothing off. You can see how much sort of smoother that looks now. There's no sort of angled edges. I've rounded off all the corners, and I've just gone between all the grooves on there and on here as well. So I'm hoping that will make it all a lot nicer to use. So I'm ready to start putting the warp thread onto my loom now. It looks pretty easy to me, pretty straightforward. I'm hoping it's going to be as straightforward as it looks. So I could probably bring it down a little bit. So I'm going to just start off with a knot to anchor it in place. Just wondering when to put something under here, because I think it's going to be clattering. Hang on a sec. I've just tied it around that first notch there. I've just done a little double knot there. Right, and I was just watching a bit more Sally Pointer's video, and she said that really you can use anything for this warp thread as long as it's reasonably fine and it's not got a lot of stretch in it. So she suggested crochet cotton would be a good alternative, and I have got quite a lot of that. So right, so I'm just going to run it up to there, around the top and back down. I'm keeping it fairly taut as I go. You don't want it ridiculously tight, but you want it to be taut. Oh, play a tune on that. Back down to there, around the notch, back up again. I think I'm going to enjoy this. Such an ancient craft as well, like basket making. I enjoyed that too. You just feel like you're doing something that people have done for centuries before you, you know. And I love that this is just so low tech. I love technology too, don't get me wrong, but I love simple hand tools like this. Okay, just coming to the end. Right, so now I'm going to snip it off, leave myself a good tail to so I can knot it around the frame. Can't seem to get a secure knot on there. Let's just have to hope that's enough, I think. Okay, so I'm all ready. I've got my little loom. It all feels fairly even tension all across there. That's the frame. This is called a heddle. This is designed to help you raise and lower alternate warp threads as you go. So first of all, I just need to get it in. Turn it around the smooth way. Get it in under there. Push that right up to there. So if you look, you can see that at the moment all of those threads are at the same level. And they're all quite taut because that's helped to make them a bit tauter as well. Tauter? More taut? Now if I turn this round like that, so it's lined up with that lot of slots, and now turn it, you can see that every other thread has sunk down into the notch, so the alternate ones are raised up, so you've got alternating up, down, up, down, up, down. I'm a bit confused that there isn't a notch there. It doesn't matter though, because I can go in under that one, so that's fine. So this makes it much easier. So then when I turn this way, other threads slip down into the notches and leave the alternating ones up higher. So it leaves this gap in between, and that gap in between is where you put the shuttle through, like that. And that gap, I think, is what they call the shed. So I'm just wondering what point is the best place to put this. Is it better to have it more? Yeah, it's a lot easier, because if you didn't have that, you'd be having to go in, out, in, out, in, out, and doing that. This should be a lot quicker. Next thing is to start weaving, but before I do that, I'm just watching someone else's channel called Spruce and Linen. I'll leave a link to that as well, and one of the things she suggested is to just pop a piece of card in between, pop a piece of card in at the bottom before you start weaving, so that will leave you some nice long ends to either leave as a fringe or weave back in. I mean, this is a small loom. I'm going to get a small piece because I want to leave a bit at the top so that I can weave these ends back in as well. So I'm only going to end up with a little strip like that, but that's fine. That's plenty to use my slow stitching or whatever. So I see that Spruce and Linen also does some useful things about doing different kinds of weaves as well, which would be quite fun to try, certainly once I get onto my table loom. Right, so what shall I try first? Let's try something fairly ordinary first. Now, the other thing that the Spruce and Linen one said, Sally didn't cover it in this because all she was doing is simply setting this up so that a kid could use it, or complete beginner could use it just as it is. But I'm going to do this thing that I saw on Spruce and Linen because I think it will make a nice finish at the bottom. So I'm going to start with 5 or 6 times the width of my frame. This is going to be easier with a big fat needle. So I'm just using a big kind of bodkin type thing. That's obviously something blunt. I'm enjoying this already. I love doing this kind of thing. Oh, that's the plumber arrived, hopefully to fix the heating. So he's probably going to think I'm sitting in here talking to myself now. Okay, I've warned him that he's probably going to hear me mumbling away to myself. So with this one, I need to use the needle rather than the shuttle because I've got to do something a bit fancy. So let's bring that all the way through and just leave enough of a tail to stitch in later. Or I might end up leaving a fringe, who knows. And then instead of, normally what I do now is just turn the heddle so that it raises the alternate threads, warp threads, and then go back under. But with this one, what I'm going to do is just this kind of crossover, and just on this very first row, just to lock everything into place. I've forgotten what she called it, but anyway, I will leave a link to her as well as Sally Pointer. They're both brilliant. This is going to be the fiddliest bit of all, I think. It's worth doing though. I thought, well, I could leave it until I've done my first one, but I might as well start. So normally you'd be going there. Let's hold this up a bit nearer. Normally you'd just be going underneath like that, but I'm not. I'm going underneath it, through there and up. So it's just twisting that first row. It's just kind of twisting the threads together. And I'm leaving a sort of loose loop there as well, so it's not to be, you don't want to start pulling everything in. Yeah. Once I've got this first little row out the way, I'll be away. Yeah, so you can see it's just sort of, as well as weaving, it's also twisting the threads together just to help to lock that first line in place. I might not be putting it tight enough, I don't know really. Experience will teach me that, I guess. Still pull it a bit now. Keep pulling that, but you don't want to pull, sort of hold there so it doesn't pull in. Just pull that tight but not let it pull in. Well, that's the last one. Okay. Right, and now I'm going to go away from the needle and use my shuttle because it'll be quicker. Turn the heddle again. Oh, that's going through really nicely. Not catching on anything. Definitely worth doing that sanding. And one thing the spruce and linen lady suggests is leaving an arch there rather than putting it through. Then you get your comb and that fits nicely over the strings, and you just sort of bat that down. Okay. Turn the heddle back. Put it tight there but leave an arch. Oh, that's very satisfying. Okay, I'm just going to hold that there. Make the arch shape. Pat it all down. Turn my heddle again. This heddle's brilliant. Johnny didn't get on with it at all, but I just think it makes it so much easier. I think that arch is almost making too much. I know you don't want to pull it in at the sides, but you don't want big loops either, so just experience will tell, I think. Turn my heddle again. I say what you don't want to do is create your shed using the heddle, but then go all the way down here, because you you've lost, you haven't got so much distance between the two down there, if that makes sense. You want to put the shuttle through up near the heddle where you've got a deeper shed. This is me using technical terms like I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that just makes sense to me. Such an ingenious little device, that heddle. It's so simple. I should be able to go through one more, doesn't it? I wonder if this will just... Isn't it nice when you try something for the first time and it actually works? Fabulous. Very happy with that. Okay, and I'm going to leave that much of an end because then that's easy enough for me to thread onto my bodkin later and just weave the ends back in to lose them. Or I might decide to leave the fringe. I've got the option that way. Okay, I'm going to change to a different type of thread now, so I've got so many to choose from. But one of these, I love the combination of purple and green and these kind of rusty colours like this. Lovely. Or a bit of something really chunky like this. Well, I want to contrast both the colour and the texture. Shall I try a bit of this? Let's go for it. Let's see if this will work with the shuttle as well. Okay. could tear this up even narrower as well, I guess. Does make a very interesting contrasting texture, doesn't it? So that's a bit of that tried. Let's go for something finer again now. Let's go for one of these. There's this beautiful Steph Francis hand dyed silk. Which I'm sure Ziggy will appreciate in his cat toy. So what I'm going to do now is just work my way back and forth a few times until I've gone up to about sort of there, and then when I come to finish off, I'll come back to you. Okay, so now I'm a bit more in the swing of this and the plumber's gone. I thought I'll come back and just show you how I'm getting on. I'm enjoying using all the different kind of textures, and I think the colours are working really nicely together. And there's just a few little things I've sort of discovered along the way that I thought would be worth showing you. So I want 5 rows of this, so I'm just gonna sort of do it 5 times and 1 for luck. And then one thing that's quite handy to do is just when I'm winding it on the shuttle, I'm just like winding it around a couple of times like that. Just to help anchor that. I suppose I could knot it even if I wanted to. So that's quite handy little tip, especially when you come to the end of it. And then what I've started to make myself remember is to leave a long enough end to get the shuttle through. So if I went through the shuttle like this, I'm not going to get it all the way through, so I just need to leave a little bit of an end, making sure my heddle's quite far away from the work because it gives me a bit more. I want to put my shuttle through right as near to the heddle as I can get, where the shed is the deepest. And I'm trying to remember now to, if I started that end last time, I'm starting this end, so I end up with an even number of bits sticking out here, because I've got a feeling I might be going to weave these ends, the warp ends, in and leave these dangling because they're pretty. I could even put beads on them. Okay, so okay, here we go. And then so on this first one with this yarn, I'm just gonna leave an end like that. I'll kind of hold it there, just pinch that there with the warp thread to stop it pulling in. Put it down here, leave that sort of arch shape, and then beat it down with this comb thing. I'm going to turn the heddle so the alternate threads lift. And then what I've discovered here is that on this heddle, it's that there isn't that last notch, isn't there on either end. So just unwind a bit more of that. So I just need to remember on this one, I don't want to go under both of those. I'm going over that one and under. Same at the other end. There we go. So now I'm in the way of it, it's not a problem. Just confused me a bit to start with. Okay, now I'm gonna again pinch the warp thread and the weft together, so I don't pull the edges in. Pull it through so that that's sort of snug there, but I don't want to pull it tight and pull it all in. Then pull it down so I've got that sort of arch shape, so it's not too tight. And again, mash it all down with my comb. Turn the heddle and go back through again. Tell you what, for a little cheapy little loom, I'm very happy with this. Right, I think I've woven as far as I want to with this piece. I've had another quick look at a couple of tutorials and worked out what I'm going to do next. So first thing is to take my heddle out, because I don't need that anymore. And then I've left a good long length there, probably more than I need. I'm just going to cut that one that's knotted and then just slip these other loops off of the frame, easy peasy. Oh, and I should mention, I finished off with that kind of, what was it called, twining stitch along the bottom, the same as I did at the start, just to hopefully lock everything into place. Okay. And now I can just cut that end as well. Take the cardboard out. Oh, I'm quite chuffed with that. I like all the different, it was interesting to try the different textures. I don't know if I really needed to have, put all those different textures in one piece, but I just wanted to see what they were like. It occurs to me that it would make a lovely little, if I did another length like that and stitched them together, I could make a container or something, couldn't I? That might be fun. So that's the thing, okay, you can only make a small piece on this loom, but there's no reason why you can't make small pieces and stitch them together into something, is there? So I might do that. So there's different things I could do here. Now, I think what I'm supposed to do here is weave these side ends in. But I think they're quite pretty, so I'm sort of half tempted to just leave them there, really, or just trim them and leave them. I did have a look to see how you would do it if you wanted to hang this up as a hanging, and this way I thought it looked quite good. Now, are those going to be long enough? I'm going to show you on the longer ones. I think what I'm going to do in practice with this piece is I'm going to sew all of the ends in, so I just end up with a little piece of fabric in effect. I'm quite pleased that it's come out more or less straight-sided, not too bad from the first go. But I just thought, just so you can see what you do if you did want to make a longer piece and do it as a hanging, this is a way I thought looked quite cool. This was on Spruce and Linen. I'm going to leave links anyway. So what she did was she took two of these loops, these are the ones I'm going to hang it up by, and stacked them up together like that. Then she held them like this, twisted it to make like a little, I don't know, it's not a figure of eight, I don't know what you would call that. Basically you've got two loops there, and then brought them together like that to create, say this was a dowel or a twig or something, that a pretty twig would look lovely. You would then put it through there. You'd want a thicker piece, obviously, but it's made that kind of a knot. I think you'd want less, you wouldn't want the loops as long as I've got here. Let's see if it'll work on these shorter ones. Stacked them together, twist them over, bring the loops together. Yeah, that's not bad. That's quite a nifty little method for hanging, if you made something you wanted to hang up. But that's not what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to weave all the ends in and just end up with as neat a piece of fabric as is possible to have with with all these different textures. It's easy to show you on the long pieces. I'm going to have to do the short pieces anyway, but let's not do the fiddliest ones on camera. So I'm going to take each of these little loops of the warp yarn and just tie a knot. Yeah, just a normal kind of overhand knot. And then before I pull it tight, I'm just going to wiggle the knot up as close as I can get it to my weaving. So just before I'm pulling it tight, I'm just sort of coaxing it up there so it's as close as it can get, just so it'll be neater and more secure, like that. And then I'm going to get, where's my fat needle gone? Right under my nose. So I'm going to weave this warp yarn inside the body of the fabric. So I'm just going to wiggle the needle in first, so you can see it's not showing on the front or the back. I'll just go up a little way like that. It's probably far enough. So I've got the needle in because I've not got a lot of thread to play with here. And then put that whole loop through both pieces of yarn through the eye of the needle and just pull it up. So the knot goes almost back inside the fabric, not quite, but that's enough. And then I can just snip off like that. And then I'll do the same with each of these pieces. I'll get wiggled back inside as well. The ribbon's going to be a little bit more difficult. So this is this great big fat piece. This is going to be the hardest one to deal with, I think. You do need a needle with a great big eye like this. I think what I'm going to do is go over, as if I'm continuing the weaving almost. I go over this one and then back under there, and over this one and back under there, and just kind of weave it as if I'm weaving it again. I'll pull it in that way. I'm hoping that will, it's going to be easier. Once I've knotted these off and they're more secure, it'll be easier to hide these away. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to wait until I've, because these aren't secured yet, they're coming loose. So I'm going to carry on. I've got lots more of the yarn still to play with, and of course I've got loads more anyway, but I just wanted to see what I could do with the kit that I sent Johnny really initially. So yeah, I'm going to carry on and finish that, and I'll come back and show you in a moment. Right, so I'm done. I've ended up tucking all of the ends in because I just wanted to see how it would look. The only bit I'm not really happy with is this knotty bit here. Well, I think there's going to be, I just followed what the tutorial showed, but I just feel like for what I want there's going to be a tidier way to do it. So I'll try that differently next time. But it won't matter, because what I'm going to do is, I've got plenty of stuff there to make at least, I think, another 3 pieces, and that would give me enough to make a little book cover or a little pouch that would be useful for something, or yeah, a little caddy for my desk, something like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make another 2 or 3 pieces, and then I'm going to move on to my big loom, and then it'll get really exciting. Thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that, and maybe you found it inspiring. Have you tried weaving before? Let me know. Have you got any tips? Please do feel free to pass them on in the comments. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me today, and I'll see you again really soon.